Hi, this is Dr. Jerry Yu, CEO and founder of Next Level Physio. On today's show, I get to interview one of my past students who is now a new practice owner out in Colorado, Dr. Ken Shyu, owner, CEO, founder of UNITE.rehab.perform physical therapy out in Denver. And we had a great blast on this show, talking about some cool things, talking about some things about him that he doesn't want to reveal or didn't want to reveal. But anyway, stay tuned. You're going to learn all about how barbell athletes are a little bit different than the rest of us who are trying to maintain an active lifestyle and the unique injuries that barbell athletes are subject to. So stay tuned. As always, don't forget to like, share, comment on our podcast. Talk to you soon. Welcome to the Beyond Physio podcast, where we help you move, excel, and inspire others on your journey to your next level with knowledge and advice from experts and testimonials from our like-minded community. So Ken, welcome to the Beyond Physio podcast.
Hello, thanks for having me.
I love the formalities here. Ken, you were one of my favorite students of all time, and I'm sorry that I encouraged you to open up a practice and move away from me thousands of miles in Denver. But at the same time, I'm really happy and glad that you are having such an amazing experience, not only as a business owner, but also as a specialist in working with barbell athletes, in working with youth performance, particularly volleyball. Mm-hmm. And I want to dive deep into that. But before we get there, I want you to tell our audience how you came into the field.
Wow. Yeah, so growing up, I always liked and enjoyed playing sports. I grew up playing tennis. Tennis was like my main sport, but I dabbled in everything else as well. Along that journey, I had a lot of low back pain. Like every season, it was just like chronic recurring, and towards the end of the season, it just got worse and worse. And I wanted to seek out a solution to it. So, of course, that was my first experience with going to physical therapy. And, it was, it helped, but the same injuries would come back again and again and again. And I felt like I was never being told, like, okay, this is what is happening that is causing your injury. And they would just always try and, work with my symptoms and, put a hot pack on me, do some massage, some stretching, but never really examined like how I moved as an athlete and how I moved in tennis, the movement patterns that are required of tennis. And this went on for years, and just with the chronic overuse, the chronic injuries that I kept experiencing, it was just getting more and more frustrated. So I kind of wanted to learn more about my own body and take matters into my own hands. So I went into health and exercise science as my undergrad degree. And when I graduated, I worked as a strength and conditioning coach for around a decade. And I kind of hit a plateau where I wanted to learn more about how I can help people with pain. And that required me going back to school and getting my doctorate of physical therapy. And from there, I knew that I had to take control of like where I wanted to do my clinical practices and experiences. So I made sure to seek out the very best in the area. And that's how I landed at Next Level.
Amazing.
As one of my affiliations. And
I'll send a check to you for saying that, by the way. Thank you. Of
course.
So much.
I'm expecting it.
That's awesome. It's funny because when I met you, what was really cool is just your passion and drive to want to dive deeper into what you already knew and how that would apply to how you work with patients. And that same trajectory has really, I think, led to where you are right now with Unite, where you're now combining all that stuff that you've learned over the time that you've worked as a trainer, in your S&C, and now you are applying that full scale in your own practice in Denver. So how does it feel to you actually seeing your practice coming to fruition?
Well, in the 3 short years, we've experienced a ton of growth as a business, as a clinician, and it's a hard journey,
Very hard.
very hard, and you can attest to that.
Oh my
And
gosh.
we always talk about those common struggles that we go through. And of course, you're many years ahead, so that's why I still like to keep in touch with you on a weekly basis. But yeah, no, I think having a background as an S&C coach for the amount of time that I did, and just experiencing this role in different settings, at your physical therapy clinic, at other physical therapy clinics, at some of the nation's top physical therapy and performance training centers, I've kind of got a really good grasp of what strength and conditioning can do for an athlete, and how I can combine that background with what I was learning in physical therapy school. And physical therapy school, they get you prepared to pass the boards. And with the physical therapy degree, you can do so much. It's kind of like, well, really any field. Like, I like to relate to nurses because there's so many different fields of nursing you can go into. Same with physical therapy. Like, we can be in hospitals, we can be in outpatient settings, we can do home care. There's just so many different populations that we can be working with. And I truly believe, like, the decade that I spent strictly as an S&C coach, I was able to really fine-tune my skills. And then when I had the addition of the DPT degree on top, it just kind of shot my I don't want to say shot. It just accelerated the trajectory of what I could provide my clients.
Excellent. Yeah. And, it's funny, with you as somebody that I coach on the side for business consulting, seeing you take every step that you could to better yourself in every way, clinically, as a business owner as well. It's been very exciting to see that putting in those very hard steps and sometimes very uncertain steps, and trusting and having faith that you are working towards a vision for your clients, for your practice, to bring this all into fruition, like I said before, has been really exciting. I think the other thing that really sets you apart from other people that I know is that you're willing to do the hard work. You know that it's not going to be fun, but you're going to do what's required for the business, for your patients, for your wife, for your team as well, to make sure that you can get those things in place so that you can see the results of that in the future. And it's cool that you've been very consistent with those things since I've met you, and that hasn't really stopped. And I can only imagine what's going to happen even in the next 6 months to a year. We had a brief conversation before about how things are now finally sort of launching. And it's because of all those steps you took over the last 3 years that you're now seeing the amazing things that are happening at UNITE.
Yeah, no. There's tons of great things happening. We talked about just doing activities known as spreading the seed, right? Yeah. And then finally being able to harvest from everything that you've done the prior few months, prior few years. And sometimes you just have to take the action, and you're not always going to get a return on it. And that's hard for myself and my peers, and it's hard for anyone to keep doing things and not seeing a return. But we have stuck to it. We've refined how we do things, how we go about our processes, and what actions that we are taking. And when we find something that clicks, that's when we run with it and stay consistent day in, day out, whether we get results or not.
Yeah. It's a lot like patient care too. Sometimes when you're in a lot of pain, or you've been dealing with an injury or some sort of nagging issue for a long time, it's hard to really trust people as far as helping you to get to where you need to be. So if I were a barbell athlete and if I hurt my shoulder and I've tried this, I've tried that, and nothing's really helped, that's very discouraging. But we do know that, listen, if I do take the small steps in the right way, eventually things will get better. But sometimes people just don't have that, have someone to help them through that.
Mm-hmm.
And someone like you who specializes in working with barbell athletes, I'm sure it's really important for you to provide that sort of encouragement too, to say, hey, listen, Jimmy or Janie, totally I get what you're going through.
Mm-hmm.
I've had injuries before, and I can tell you the journey is long because you've had this for a long time. But I can tell you with certainty that if you do these little things, take the small, hard steps to get there, you have a very good chance of getting to the place that you want to be.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, we're talking about the same thing in all different aspects of it. And what that, I think, common theme that we keep going back to is more of your mindset.
Always.
Having that strong mindset and determined and, day in, day out, whether it's, going through school, whether it's going to work, whether it's recovering from an injury. It's not a linear process. It's going to be a lot of up and down.
For
But
sure.
ultimately, if you stick to it and you have the proper guidance and you're going down the correct path, the wins are going to outweigh your losses.
Yeah, for sure. Let's dive into that now, Dr. Ken. Let's talk about who you treat, who you specialize in specifically, and tell us what kinds of clients will get the best results from working at UNITE.
Yeah, so we work with a lot of barbell athletes, CrossFitters, powerlifters, Olympic weightlifting athletes that come to us, and a lot of them, are from the spectrum of whether you're a novice lifter all the way to the experienced lifter. And, everyone needs a coach. Everyone needs another set of eyes on them. As many set of eyes on an athlete is going to help that athlete get to that next level.
So basically, the kinds of clients that you really specialize in to get the best results are going to be CrossFitters,
right,
weightlifters,
we technically do other athletes too.
Of course.
You just had Sarah on last week.
This is true. Yeah.
But yes, one of our big groups of people are the barbell athletes. Yeah.
Cool. Is there a certain age group that you prefer working with or that you seem to be gravitating towards at UNITE?
I will say we predominantly work with athletes in their 30s to 50s.
Yeah.
That being said, we do team training for 150 plus kids, and we have excellent coaches that do their team trainings throughout the season, with volleyball, baseball, and soccer teams.
Yeah.
So we kind of cover the spectrum, but I think our sweet spot right now for physical therapy is that we really excel in the athlete in their 30s to 50s that really cares about their health and wants to be proactive and take preventive steps.
Yeah.
So that they can keep doing what they love to do for as long as they can.
That's awesome. I think for myself, now 48 and slowly or quickly approaching 50, I definitely feel like I pay more attention to my own health. And I'm very, very aware of my sleep patterns, how much sunlight I get, my hydration, all these external factors that I think play a big role into how I feel every day and how I can function for work and for just for life. Are there things that you often preach or often coach your clients between 30 and 50 that fall outside of what traditional physical therapy?
Yeah. So that goes to the question of who are the athletes that do best with us when they come in the door? Like, who are the ones that will ultimately get the best outcomes when they walk through the doors of UNITE? And, number one, I would say is definitely having that right mindset that I keep talking about. It's being able to build that trust with our client and the client being able to trust us. Of course, that's a two-way street, right? But ultimately, like when I make my recommendations, it's purely based out of what they're trying to get back to. I won't sugarcoat anything. I won't try and upsell them on anything that I don't think they necessarily need, but I will give them the best course of action. And based off of that, I'm going to support my reasoning with why I came to these steps that they should be taking. And then I give them the information, let them make that best judgment. So ultimately, the athletes that come to us with the mindset of being able to accept what we're telling them as professionals, and that we truly are making the best recommendation based off of what we feel is right for them at the time. And those athletes that are able to take that knowledge that now they have about their specific injury and where they are, and to be able to apply it consistently, and like what you're saying with certain habits or lifestyle changes, we deep dive into that, because ultimately it's a whole combination of factors that lead into someone's injuries. Unless it's something traumatic, most injuries are kind of wear and tear over time, or incorrect form, incorrect programming, so many factors. And like what you're saying, those lifestyle modifications are huge. And the people that are willing to make those changes and build those healthy habits, whether it's, adding in some more sleep so that they come in ready to train, and they can train to their fullest without, breaking down that last set or that last rep that causes that injury.
Thinking, Ken, if we have this type of physical therapy that you and I do, and a lot of our colleagues who share the same alignment of combining S&C training with rehab, there's this group of people, and then you have your traditional PTs out there who are still doing shake and bake PT. They're still doing outdated modalities. They're still doing hot pack, cold pack, the stuff from the 70s. Do you ever get clients who've tried that traditional approach and didn't get the results they wanted, and have now found something different with you?
Yeah, 100%. We get a ton of people who have actually initially contacted us and had some sort of objection, but tried traditional PT and then realized that, wow, like they don't spend any time with me, or
No.
I'm kind of just left on my own to do this. I see them or the clinician sees me for 10, 15 minutes, and I'm working with an aide the rest of the session.
Right.
And I'm just kind of left on my own to do these exercises and whatnot. And there's no guidance and no clear timeline or journey presented to the client. So they don't even know how long it's going to take to get back to what they want to do. So yeah, 100%. It's night and day, the services that you and I can provide compared to the traditional model.
Yeah, I love that you talked about journey, because we have our 3-step process at Next Level, and the goal is always to get to that third phase, which for us is the inspire phase, because that's where you're getting back to what you love to do. And we're all celebrating that you can do those things, because that's what you came in for. And for you and me both, I think we both agree that I'm not satisfied if somebody is coming in to get treated by us and is as good as they were before they came in. I want them hitting a PR. I want them hitting different kinds of goals that they never thought they could do. And that for me is so exciting. And if the client hasn't gotten there yet, I'm not ready to say that they're ready to go. Like, dude, I know you have it in you to get to this other level. Let's get there, because you're now able to do things you haven't been able to before you started PT with us.
Right. And, I can definitely attest to that when I was a student at your clinic, that, the Move, Excel, Inspire model, like, is truly that journey that you take your clients through, and just having that presented to them, they know where they are and where they need to get to, and that they have a team encouraging them to help get them there and to guide them there.
Can tell us about the client journey at UNITE.rehab.perform.
Yeah, so first step is we want to find out what you want to get back to doing. whether that's being able to hike pain-free, play a sport, being able to lift anything. Backtrack.
Yeah.
A lot of editing for this one. Sorry, Matt.
That's okay.
So the client journey for us really starts with finding out what our client or athlete wants to get back to doing. And typically that involves some sort of activity, whether it's hiking, skiing, being able to lift weights overhead without shoulder pain. So there's some type of pain involved. So I would definitely say the first segment is addressing the pain. Once they're out of that pain phase, we'll start to creep into making sure they have good range of motion to that extremity. So with that athlete that wants to lift overhead, let's make sure that they have full range reaching overhead without any pain. Then we'll start adding in some exercises and movements to help strengthen and stabilize the joint when they are moving overhead. And once they have a good baseline for that, when we can start talking about building muscle capacity and transitioning more into sport specificity movements, whether it's your clean, your snatch, your push press, or whatever that might be.
Right.
So that's kind of the journey that we present for our athletes, so that they know when and roughly the timeline of like where they are, so that they can start returning back to sport and doing those activities.
So Ken, I want to hear about one of your recent client success stories where you tell us about what they came in with and how they're doing, and maybe when they left, how they did with the UNITE rehab program way.
A recent program or a recent success story. I mean, there's so many.
Exactly.
Which one do I pick? Sarah does most of the treating.
We'll edit that part out. So Ken, the slave driver here.
Oh, man.
Maybe you're...
I'm trying to think of something unique here.
What about the question you said you did this week? You fixed the horse problems?
No. That's Sarah. Wrong person.
Ken supports the equestrians.
Oh, okay. This is a good one. Well, one of our recent success stories is a current CrossFit athlete who has been dealing with knee pain for the past 5 years, and he has like a very extensive training background. He's been training since he was in high school. Now he's in his 30s, and he's able to, even still to today, like lift a heavy amount of weight. But he'll get up to like 7 out of 10 pain afterwards. Wow. And just deal with this cycle of going back and forth. Like when I go into training, I don't have pain, but I'm most likely going to be suffering from some type of pain for the next few days afterwards. And it's just been this back and forth. And finally, he made the appointment to come in. And in that very first session, it was like even surprising to myself, because, again, we were trying to give him the best case scenario of how long it's going to take, how many sessions he's going to need. And just in the first session alone, his pain went down from a 7 out of 10 to, I would say, like a 2 or 3.
Wow, that's a big drop.
It was a huge drop for someone who's been complaining of pain for 5 years.
Yeah.
And who has had traumatic episodes to the knee based on his past career. So that was a huge win. And now, like, we were a few sessions in, and he's down to a 1 out of 10, 0 out of 10 with most activities.
That's a great
And we're
story.
slowly progressing back, getting him under the barbell.
Yeah.
To be able to ramp him up and to be able to handle those loads when he does go above 300-400 pounds.
That's a lot. Now, what do you think if that person, that athlete, had gone to a traditional PT, what do you think they would have just done for that guy?
Well, I don't think they would know the demands of the sport that he's trying to get back to.
I'm so glad you said that.
So this is someone who squats 500 pounds easily, who snatches 200 pounds plus, and who just really grinds it out in the gym. And I think the traditional model many times fails because most of the time they are generalists. So they can see anyone who's like an 80-year-old who just had knee surgery and wants to get back to walking and be able to take care of his wife, to someone who is, in their early 30s, who wants to get back to lifting weights at least 4, 5, 6 times a week. So, they're not going to get the same specialized treatment and the same specialized plan of care that we can provide them.
I'm so glad you said that, because there's definitely something missing. And I see this in a lot of PT classes that I teach as well when I lecture at different schools, where I can sort of scan the crowd of students, and I can tell that most of them are not physically active like you and I are. And I think unless you're practicing movement of some kind daily, you're not going to be able to relate to that client, because you haven't had injuries set you back because of one reason or another. And you're not going to be able to guide them along that journey as a coach, because you haven't yourself practiced those movements or practice moves in general. So it's almost like going to the under-conditioned, we'll say, cardiologist, and that person giving you advice on how to take care of your heart. I'm sorry, I'm going to find somebody who lives an active lifestyle as a cardiologist and is able to point me in the right direction, because they are living the kind of lifestyle that I want to live. And that person, because he or she does that, is going to give me the best advice that may or may not include medicine. But the point is that you really have to find somebody, if you're active out there, make sure that you're working with somebody who's as active as you are, because they'll probably just tell you, well, just stop doing that. I still hear this advice, which is very faulty and does nothing to benefit somebody who's really trying to live an active lifestyle. So wherever you are in Denver, make sure that you try to find somebody who's living an active lifestyle as your provider, whether it's a physical therapist, whether it's a physician, whether it's a coach, to make sure that you're getting the best kind of advice you can for your journey.
Yeah, 100%. 100% agreed. And I think nowadays the information is out there. Whether you want to learn how to lift weights, whether you want to try and like WebMD your own symptoms, information is out there. You want someone who can implement that information for you, who can do your programming for you that's specific to your sport, that will help you streamline the process of reaching your goals way quicker than if you were to try and do it on yourself. And you might not even hit your end target if you were doing this on your own.
Absolutely. And also that professional making sure that if you do have some sort of limitations or some other injuries from the past, that those things won't become a limiting factor for you as you're trying to push the load, if you will, or push your pace if you're a runner out there. And something you nailed also, Ken, is just making sure that there is specificity of that person who you're trying to treat. So if that person has no experience running, I'm not sure if they'll be able to give you the best advice, because they're not going to be able to guide you along the way that you need to be as a runner. But obviously in your area, being very specialized in what you do, such a big advantage in the Denver area to make sure that you're seeking the best care from somebody who does practice those movements.
Yeah, absolutely. There are so many specialties out there. And I think one of the things, backtracking on what I was talking about before, is building that trust with your client. If I know there's someone who can do the job better than I can, I will gladly refer them over, because I want to work in the best interests of my athlete, or I guess in this case it will be my potential athlete.
Yeah.
But being able to direct people to what will benefit them most ultimately is what I want to provide our surrounding area in Denver.
Definitely. Cool. And something else you touched on, which is we do see clients who've tried the social media approach to treatment. So they'll see a reel on Instagram, they'll watch something on YouTube. And I think that if you think about it, it's, it's good general advice. It's the best that you can get for what you have. And I know a lot of clinicians out there dial in on what they're trying to do. And to some degree, it's going to be helpful, at least giving you perspective. But all those things aren't meant for everyone to do. And sometimes that can be actually harmful for you, because if you're doing something that you think might be good for you, but because you don't know your own diagnosis and what limitations you might have, it actually might be more harmful for you. Have you ever come across people like that?
Yeah, actually, it happens more common than not, and you kind of have to pry it out of someone. And the more you get to know them, the more they'll start to open up about, where do you get your information from? Like, who does your programming? Do you have programming? So these are all questions that we try and ask on the very first time that we meet, to figure out, like, okay, where's this athlete at currently? What is their training status like? How often are they training? And where are they getting their information from? Because if we can intercept an area that, like Instagram or social media, that they're getting these things from, then we can potentially cut out some negative influences that they're having, and that might be causing some of that, the pain they're having.
For sure.
So yeah, we see that all the time.
Yeah. So Ken, as we get close to the end of our podcast today, are there any kinds of things you want to share with our audience about things that you do in Denver with Unite? Anything that you want to impart upon the audience as far as looking for the right PT?
I would definitely recommend that. There's so many PTs out there, and we can all provide a great service for you, but you have to find out which clinician or which facility is going to suit the needs and the ultimate goals that you're trying to achieve. A lot of these clinics will offer a free 30-minute or some type of consultation, just to sit down, meet face to face, and to, no pressure, to sit down, to meet face to face, and to just chat to see if, like, this is the right place to help me get to where I want to be. So I'd encourage everyone to really ask yourself to see, what are you trying to get out of this journey? Is it just, I want to get out of pain? Then, that's pretty general. So you have more of an idea yourself of what is your own end goal look like. And that will help in determining who or what kind of provider you want to be looking for.
That's for sure. Cool. Now, the episode would not be doing anyone any justice if we didn't dive into your favorite guilty pleasure as far as food goes. And we want to share that because we are foodies here, as you know, and we live to eat, we'll just say, on top of all the workouts that we do. But what is your favorite guilty pleasure, Ken?
Oh, man.
Too many?
There's a lot, but I think probably top 3 is Popeye's spicy chicken sandwich.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I haven't had that in years, man. It's awesome.
Yeah. What about you?
Me? Oh, we were going on a couple episodes on donuts. And I shared my guilty pleasure of splitting a donut in half like a bagel, toasting it, and then putting vanilla ice cream in it. It's one of my favorite things to do.
Wow.
Yeah. Incredible.
You should start offering that at the clinic.
You know what? That might be something we try to do in the future for both those who can tolerate dairy and those who are dairy free. So cool. Ken, thank you so much for being on our show. I'm really glad to have you on. Very proud of you as someone who has seen you grow as a clinician, as a business owner, as a husband as well. So best wishes to Unite and your vision for the future and all its success.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on.
Okay. Now, time for some silliness. So I always let's ask a couple ridiculous questions because we get an idea of you, of the doctors and you guys, you lifters and athletes and learned men, of how professional you guys are. But to humanize you guys a little bit, I like to break it up a little bit. So I give you these ridiculous questions to just kind of see what kind of personalities you guys really are. So first one is one of my favorites is, if you, for the rest of your life, had to pick one, would you rather be blind or live inside of an Olive Garden restaurant for the rest of your life?
I said Olive Garden.
Olive Garden. There's nothing wrong with it.
We are aligned. Yes.
I'd be happy.
I eat those breadsticks.
Is that you open up a clinic upstairs?
Yeah, all right.
Would you rather fight Mike Tyson or sound like him for the rest of your life?
I would sound like him.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
Yeah.
So the way I rationalize with this, like if I got to go in the ring with Mike Tyson, it's going to be short and fast, and I'll probably get knocked out, but that's it. But I still have my voice.
You might not wake up.
I'd have to train, of course, but yeah, I would not want to sound like him, though.
Oh, for the rest of your life, would you rather wear cargo shorts or no socks ever?
Cargo shorts.
Yeah, cargo shorts.
All right, the last one. If there's an alien invasion, you have to pick one human on the planet to represent the human race. Who is it?
That's tough. That's actually that's a. I'd be arrogant if I said myself, but
I'll take it.
I would pick Jerry.
yes, good answer, Ken.
Cherry it is.
Excellent.
All right, that's it. Awesome. Thank you,
Awesome,
guys.
thank you.
All right.
Nice job, Ken.
Thanks, Jerry.